ladies, Karen McCoy here, and today in this series of videos I want to talk to you about how to craft your own home gym. So many of you from Vancouver Island know that we were hit with the closure of 11 gyms, chain of gyms that closed down. The other gyms are trying to accommodate the excess people, but a lot of women are now looking to carve out space for their own home gym. So what exactly does that look like? What do we look for? How can we ensure we're going to get a good workout and make it a functional space for us? So in this video, I want to go over 3 parameters that I think are really, really important that you need to ask at the get-go, and then I'll go into some particulars as well. I also have a checklist for you guys to be able to print off and ponder and think about, because it's really, really important that you know what you want at the start before you engage in this process. All right, let's go. All right, the first parameter you have to consider is budget. What do you have to spend? Now, you can do a home gym for $500, you can do a home gym for $10,000. It really depends on what you want. But budget is really important so you know what you're going in with, and then whoever you're working with, you can tell them what your budget is and you can work from there. Be prepared to be a little bit flexible on the other side, because you're going to find that some pieces of equipment are probably going to be more expensive than you had anticipated. Prices have gone up on everything, and gym equipment and apparel is one of those places. So budget is really important. What do you have? What are you willing to spend? The second is space. How big is your space? Now, I have the luxury of having an 800 square foot space here. We took a garage and made it into a gym. So for me, it works really, really well for me and the girls that I bring in here. You may not need that much, but I would always caution you to go a little bit bigger if you can. One of the most challenging is trying to do it in a small space, and then once you get equipment in there, there's no space left, there's no floor space, and you're always having to move stuff around to accommodate your workout, and it's just uncomfortable. So determine what your space is, and you may even want to steal space from a closet, or I have an overhead door where I can open it up and go out onto the driveway. So again, I've extended my space by another 150 feet, which is a really big deal. So what kind of space do you have to work with? And of course, the third one is focus. What is your focus for your workout? If you're just a newcomer to the gym or to training, then you're going to have to define what do you want to do for your training regime. Are you into weight training? Are you into Olympic lifts? Are you into boot camp or body resistance only programs? Are you into kickboxing? Do you want more cardio in your routine? So clearly define how you want to live your life with your exercise regime at the get-go and build from there, because a lot of people aren't clear on what they want, and they'll go in and grab what's popular and what they see in other gyms, but it's not going to suit their individual preferences. So know what you want from your exercise regime before you start purchasing. Probably one of the most important pieces of equipment in your home gym is going to be benches. Now, I see a lot of people chinsing out on the price of a good bench. Do not do it. It's not worth it. A good bench is going to run you anywhere from $250 and up. So I have 4 benches. You probably don't need 4, but I would strongly recommend 2. Because there's a lot of things that you need to do that will require 2 benches, but also you've got to have one that's multi-purpose. So I have a flat one, and then I have one that I can do for shoulders, which is a military press. I can do some chest work on here as well. This one is the incline, so of course I can incline this one up and down as I need to. Really important. And then over here, I have a super light one. Like, it's just super, super light. I would not do any heavy work on that, but I can move that bench into any of the other big pieces if I need to stand on it for pull-ups, or if I'm going to use it for a bench press. In that instance, this light one is okay. But any kind of major work, I would have the 2 benches. So as we progress, there's different reasons to have 2 benches. What if we're doing some kind of a tricep dip? We're going to need to put our feet up on something. Or if we're doing supersets, we're going to want an incline and a flat perhaps. It may just be that you can do everything with one bench, but I find it's clumsy because you're always having to change things up. If you are only going to get one bench, get one that you can incline as you need to. So it's totally flat, or I can incline it at any degree that I want. So benches are really, really important. Make sure they're quality benches, make sure they're not rickety, and make sure they have good leather on them as well. Dumbbells, of course, you're going to need dumbbells. And so I really strongly recommend you get a rack. One of the main things you're going to have to pay attention to in your home gym is you're going to have to try to keep the space uncluttered. And space gets filled up pretty fast with gym equipment. When these are all on the floor, they're going to take up a lot of space. Not only that, but you're not always going to want to bend over when you're changing weights. So a good quality dumbbell rack is really important because now it clears the floor space, and for the heavier dumbbells, as I'm using them, I don't have to bend over. They're just right here. Now I've got a double-sided because the other side is for heavier weights from 30 to 60 pounds. That's for me and hubby, because hubby likes to train as well. So mine are back to back. So again, it opens up the floor space. And then I can put stuff under the rack as well, the smaller dumbbells. So I'm not taking up any more floor space than I have to. And of course, the other thing I have is I have a weight tree. You may not need this, but having some kind of a tree, I have a lot of plates because I'm a multi-use gym. You may not have that much, but even if you only have 5 or 10 plates, I would still recommend a tree because it's easier to get them off a tree, and it's also not taking up space on the floor. You're going to find that you're going to need more plates than you realize too because a 5-pound plate or a 10-pound plate is not going to be enough. Not only that, but if you're doing supersets or you want to move about, you're going to want to set up your barbells perhaps 2 at a time where you can do a superset, and you don't always want to change the weights. This is about being extremely streamlined as well in your training. When it comes to dumbbells, I always recommend that women get 3 or 4 different weights. 1 or 2 weights is not enough. You can start with that, but you're going to have to budget in 3 or 4 different weights. So I go from 12 pounds up to 25 pounds. I will do 30s for other things as well, maybe not necessary for you at this time. I have some super light ones too if I'm doing shoulder work or I have to do rehab work or whatever. I've got some 5-pounders as well. But they're underneath. I don't even really consider them part of the family because they're there, but this is my main family here. So I happen to have 2 sets of everything because I train other people, of course, and we got to make sure that there's doubles of certain ones. But definitely try to get them in increments of 2.5 or 3 pounds if you can. So for most women, I would say if you've never trained before or you've had a layoff or you're not sure, start with 8 or 10 pounds. Get a 12-pounder, get a 15-pounder, and get a 17.5 if they still make them. It's really hard to find those, but some places still make them. So, and then you can start adding on larger ones if you want to after that. Now, another good option is they have the clip dumbbells where you can actually chink them and it adds weight and they're just in one bar. Those can be fabulous for saving time as well. I like the old school. I like them individual and separate, but some people want to have the all-in-one dumbbell so it only takes up a certain amount of space. That's cool too. Of course, no gym is complete without barbells. I have 3 different varieties. I have an Olympic bar, which is 45 pounds. That's what Olympic bars weigh at. So this is my Olympic bar, which is for the big movements like deadlift, bench press, squat, rows, that kind of stuff. I have a lighter one, which is 35 pounds. And then I have a lighter one, which is actually an easy curl bar, which is curved, it's curled. You don't have to, but I like it for certain things. And this one's 25 pounds. So I have 3 different bars, 25, 35, and 45. I would strongly recommend getting 2 barbells. And for most women, the 25 to 35 would work, but if you are seasoned and you're doing bigger lifts, then certainly grab a 45-pound bar. Again, make sure they're quality pieces because these guys really take the brunt, especially your Olympic bar. Now, what's unique about the Olympic bar is it should be rotating at the end. And what that means is if you're doing a heavy workout and you've got plates on here, this will rotate as it needs to. And it also maintains the integrity of the bar, so it's not going to fall apart on you. So Olympic bars are really worth their weight. Pardon the pun. All right, if you're considering pieces of equipment, it would be wise to have pieces that are multi-use. And so my two favorite pieces that I have in my gym is a Smith machine and a cable machine. Now what I like about them is they're multi-purpose. I can do a lot of stuff with them. My Smith machine is unique in that it's floating. So what that means is when it comes down, it's not stuck in a trajectory like most Smiths. It can go forward and it can go backward. So this makes it really great, not just for squats, obviously, but I can also do bench press, I can do shoulder, I can do upright rows, because of the moving of the mechanism, which is really, really important. I also have a cable at the top for lat pull down, chins, other things. And then at the bottom, I also have a cable as well for rows and one-handed unilateral work. So it's really multifaceted in all ways. So I pretty well have 3 stations in one. And because of the floating nature of the Smith, that allows me to use in the rack for all sorts of other things as well, because you don't want a straight trajectory all the time for bench press and shoulder, because it keeps your joints locked into that straight up and down. Everybody has a very individual arcing to their movements, and that arcing needs to be honored. And so when you're lifting, nobody lifts straight up and down, and this is where you can get shoulder impingement, and you can also jeopardize other joints as well when you're doing chest work, when you're doing upright rows as well. You need to be able to have a little bit of give in that. So that's why I chose this piece of equipment. My other favorite piece of equipment, of course, is my cables. So the cables, this is the Inspire line. The cables, again, are multifaceted. They're individual, so I can do individual work. I can do 2. I also have a pull-up here, and I can bring them down to the bottom. I can do rows as well. It also comes with a huge assortment of attachments and a little how-to book, which I like. So there's different bars, and there's different handles. There's different ropes. Again, multi-use. I can do all body parts on this piece of machine. So that is also why, if you're choosing cables, try to find something where you can manage a whole bunch of different muscle groups as well. The other one that I really like, and I will just bring this over here, when we're looking to conserve space, I have a leg extension, leg curl that is in one piece. So I can bring it up for the leg curl, and I can bring it down for the leg extension. And so it's one piece, but it works legs on both sides. And so that's really important to me, to be able to give my clients and myself a full rounded leg workout, but it's just in one piece of equipment. The other things I have in here, I'll see if I can swivel you around. Yes, I do all my videos myself. I have a hack machine, and this is not a necessity, but I love the hack. I love it because it fits my body and it works my glutes, my hams, and my quads. And I can fit my body to it because I have my body mechanics don't always make for a perfect squat. In this one, it's a sled, so it's more secure, and it also protects my back. It fits my body and my work. Now, this is not usually what people would have in their gym, but I knew this piece. I've used this piece for years. And so I knew I wanted that in my repertoire. It was really important to me. And of course, the other one is the leg press. I love the leg press as well. Again, it is pretty basic in its setup, and you can do calves on here as well. But a leg press was another important piece of equipment for me. So I have these 2 side by side, and then I have my other 3 main pieces. So those are my 5 main equipment pieces in my gym. All right, I'm just going to take you around the gym here, and I just want to show you a couple of the other peripherals that I've thrown in that you might want to consider. Okay, so obviously, mats. Here's my mats here. So I've got 4 mats here. I love my mats. Now, another way to conserve space is you can pop them up on the wall, and they hang on the wall, and they don't take up floor space. So mats are really, really important. I like my kettlebells, so they range from 8 pounds up to 20 pounds. And again, this is for my girls, so you probably don't need as much. But if you're going to do kettlebells, I would recommend 2 different weights for kettlebells. Anywhere, I'd say the average woman can do, I would say 10 to 20 pounds, because that's going to give you a nice range. You can find that you can, if those weights don't work for you, you can also use dumbbells for a lot of that stuff too. But kettlebells are something that have become really popular. They're easy to hang on to, and they're really fun. Here is my med ball tree. So I have med balls ranging from 6 pounds up to 20. Again, for the average woman, I would say 6 to 10 pounds if you can grab 1 or 2. These little guys are not inexpensive. A lot of the stuff isn't inexpensive. So I would still like to see 2 med balls, 2 different weights, and then 2 kettlebells as well. So again, anywhere from 6 to 8 pounds up to 10 to 12 pounds would work for most people. Here are my Swiss balls. Swiss balls are great. So there's 45, 55, 65 centimeter. Basically, you can find there's charts that can show you, what size to get for your height. And they're very durable, and they're great for all sorts of things. 1 ball would do you fine. Now, what a lot of people do is they create a shelf, and they actually put these balls up on a shelf up here. So again, there's no floor space being used. I have the floor space, so I'm okay with it, but get them up off the floor, and then you've got your floor space here. And finally, you're going to want to beautify your space. This is a space that you should enjoy. It should not be so industrial that it feels dry and lifeless. This is a place where you're building health, where you're coming in to have quiet time. You're coming in to enjoy. So build your space and beautify it with whatever you want. I'll show you some of the stuff that I have. I mean, I love this part because it's really important to me. I have nice colored walls. I know it sounds crazy, but I do. I have nice brown covered walls because it makes me feel warm and fuzzy, and I like it. I have mats, and so I forgot to mention these mats are really important. These are rubber mats. Yes, you want to have mats down, guys, because you might ruin your flooring, but it's also going to be hard on any floor exercises and your feet. So these mats, they just kind of chink together like jigsaw pieces, and I've got them on the outside of my gym, and then in the middle I have rug, so that I can sit and I can do stretches and I can have a nice place to sit. I enjoy having texture in my space, and so having this rug was really important to me. It also matches the walls, don't you know? So again, beautify it the way you want. What I've done in my gym is I've laid everything out in the middle here. Oh yeah, the Harley. Yeah, the Harley, I know, it found its way in here, don't you know, but it's heading out soon because spring is here. So I have my dumbbells and my plates in the middle, and either side I have open, because I like to do a lot of walking exercises, so I can walk around, and again, another carpet here, and I can walk around, and then the middle here is the open space where I can move the benches about. So I pretty well have the gym cut up into 3. So I have the outer stuff where all of the big machines are, right? And there's my outer stuff over there along the outside wall. And then I've got the middle place taken with some other stuff. And then I've kept it open along the sides and in the middle. So I've kind of cut it up that way because it makes a flow and makes it so I have space. And if I have people in here, I don't bump into them. They don't bump into each other. I can manage it in a way that it keeps all the people on the sides when they're doing the heavy work, and they can come into the middle for their bench work. I beautify, I have curtains in here. I like to put up curtains. So again, I can draw these for privacy too, which is important to me. So I have curtains on either side, and I can draw them closed. I have lots of light and window. I do not want to train in a cave. I'm sorry, some people do. I just don't like it. I love my space. I love the outside. So I have a door. I also have the luxury of having an overhead door. I know. Like I say, this was a garage. And so the overhead door I can open up. So this is where I'm talking about. I get to extend the training space out here, and I can do all sorts of work out here. We can go up the driveway, we can go out in the grass. So it gives me a few hundred extra feet, actually. I have things up on the walls. I have my posters. I have a place to hang coats because that's important. You may not need that if you're just working in your home. I have a shelf. I have a couple shelves. Again, keeping stuff off the floor. Shelves are really inexpensive, but it keeps everything off the floor. I've got cleaning supplies and water up there. I have a water tank here. And then I've just got little trinkets and little things that I put up to make it homey and warm. And I've got some of my yoga stuff here. Again, another shelf and some paintings. Mirrors, obviously, are part of it. I failed to mention that, but I'm assuming that you guys would know that mirrors are important. Form is important, but it also keeps you focused. Mirrors are really important. So I have a lot of mirrors in my place. Again, these are gym grade. They need to be. They're especially put in because I didn't want to risk me putting them in. So they're glued in place. They're just glued in place. So you can get these almost anywhere. Here's my, I've got some voodoo stuff. This is my namaste. Again, really important that you beautify. I have a TV. I do. I have a TV. A lot of gyms do. There's some stuff up there. There's some pictures from my shows. There's another little voodoo up there. And then this is my little, it's not really a built-in. I actually got this whole thing for like $40 at the government store where they do repossessions and where they downsize government buildings. And so this is multifunctional. I can put all my stuff in here. I got my cleaning stuff. I've got scales, whatever else I've got in here. And then down below I've just put in baskets. So I have 3 baskets here. And the baskets, again, hold other stuff. So that's pretty well how I decided to do my gym. Now, my gym is probably bigger than you would want for your gym. But again, the same principles apply. I came in, decided what I wanted, and I went out and got a collection of new and used equipment. And I budgeted for it. Now, this gym is, it probably was about $22,000 for all this equipment in here. But again, I budgeted because I know what I need, and this is my business. So I stuck pretty close to it, actually. It was pretty easy once I knew what I needed. And then the other little thing, and this is a real cool point, the other thing that I did, well, I'm married to a builder, right? So what we did was he drew to scale all these pieces of equipment. I said what I wanted. I had a wish list. I actually had more pieces than would fit in here comfortably because you need space between equipment as well. You need space to move around. What I see is most people don't recognize how much space is required, and then they want to get more stuff, and it gets pushed away. It doesn't work. You can't be cramped in your space. Less is more, right? So what we did was he did little pieces of the equipment to scale, and we did this little map. And I took all the pieces of equipment that I was thinking about and I put them on the map to see how they were going to fit. And a lot of them didn't fit, so I had to jiggle it. And I probably did that for about a week. So I could figure out what pieces of equipment would fit, what would I prioritize, and then what did I have to not have. And so that's kind of how I did it. I also did it with I mentioned I have body bars over there too. They don't take up any space, they're just against the wall. So I also did it with the dumbbells, made sure I had a rack where the dumbbell rack was going to go because I consider that a piece of equipment. And then how I would work the space. Where would my little table be where I wanted to put my water or my shake or whatever? Where would the shelves go, and are they durable enough to be able to hold what I need? I know it sounds really extensive, but really, once you get into it and you lay it out visually with little pieces of paper on your floor plan, that is all done to scale, okay? Go back to grade 11. I know you know how to do this. Think about your math, okay? And when you lay it out, then you really hammer in and you really prioritize exactly what you want and exactly how it's going to fit. So that was how this space worked, and everything fit in according to our little map that we did 3 years ago. So it worked for us, and that is probably the best thing that we did. So here again, remember the 3 main ones: budget, space, focus, okay? What is your budget? Be flexible with it, okay? Don't chintz out. How much space do you need? Can you steal space to make it a little bit bigger? Because most people never have enough. And then what is your focus? What kind of equipment do you need for what kind of physique development? What kind of training? What kind of lifestyle? Really, really important. And then you want to look at your benches, making sure you've got at least 2 good quality benches, multi-use pieces of equipment that you can use for various things instead of just one. Conserving space by adding in, med ball lifts and putting stuff up off the floor. And then beautifying your space, because this is your space. And you want to be able to come in here and do your training and have fun with your training and be able to know that this is something that you created and you can always add to it later and just enjoy your space, right? Because this is all about you. Okay, you guys, I hope that helps. Grab your checklist and email me if you have any questions. Okay, ciao.